Hey everyone, I'm RealPrismSword, and Pink Ghost has enlisted me to help highlight some interesting decks that players are bringing to the Champion Draft Series in this segment of Deck Dive. I'm going to be covering the first 2 weeks, and in my analysis, I want to point out interesting lists and lineups that players are bringing, and why I think they're finding success in this interesting format that the CDS provides. One aspect I think players need to be mindful of to achieve victory is to have flexibility in their champion lineups. Sometimes you see players get naturally strong combinations, like Gangplank Sejuani for Plunder or Canetrox for Canetrox. But sometimes you'll find watered down versions of previously popular decks like Red Gwen, but instead of Katarina we use another Noxus champion in Draven. To best highlight this in week 1, I wanted to point out Spids' Lucian Kennen Bandleswarm. Bandleswarm with champion strength top end isn't a new concept, but it is an old strategy that has been left in the dust for the most part in recent metas. If you look at Spids' champion roster, you wouldn't necessarily predict Bandleswarm at first glance. There's a bunch more popular choices like the previously mentioned Plunder, Red Gwen, and even Portal King Shenanigans. But it's this unpredictability of using older strategies, even with watered down champions in those slots, that helped Spids find her victory. Sometimes champions are just tools that are used to access powerful cards from their regions, and this lineup shows that strength. Granted, in that first week's matchup, the unexpected Bandleswarm deck didn't get to do as much since her opponent in Slay didn't draw an adequate hand and quickly conceded, but it does go to show what creative lineup building can yield. Another aspect that competitors should play for is adaptation. When you look at your opponent's rosters that they drafted for themselves, you have to be mindful of what they'll most likely bring, unlikeliness out of left field, and what they brought in previous weeks. I think the best player to do this for week 2 was Cephalopod. While his lists are fairly strong strategies in Vayne Rumble and Zilean Echo, I think the tech cards he brought into this week against Majin Bay was very heads up. In both his Rumble and Echo lists, he brought 3 copies of Armed Acquisitioner. Doing this when you know you're expecting to run against Ryze and Cosmic Call Salt Monument helps improve your odds of jumping over any hurdles thrown at you and delaying the enemy game plan. Granted, similar to last week's matchup, there weren't too many opportunities to show off the smart deck building of this tech card. Vayne Rumble kind of just naturally did what Vayne Rumble is known for in running over the opponent, and the Echo list didn't really find an opportunity to draw the Armed Acquisitioner or level Zilean to duplicate all the landmark removal every single turn. However, I still think even if the deck building choices weren't given a chance to pop off in the game, I do think there would have been multiple opportunities to show the strength of the smart deck building if the chance called for it. And that's it for me for this week in the deck dive. I hope you had a wonderful time.